Okay, let's try and unpack this. Imagine, a really high-stakes diplomatic meeting, two world leaders, they meet, and then afterwards they give completely different stories about what just happened.
Happens more often than you'd think, but yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, this recent Anchorage summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, all about the war in Ukraine, of course.
Right.
We've gone deep into the BBC News transcript covering this meeting, and our mission really is to pull out the key insights, help you understand the dynamics, and, well, why it all matters.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, how fast those two very different narratives popped up. Almost immediately.
Exactly.
It really shows you the complexity of these top-level talks. Perception, can be just as powerful as what actually happened or didn't happen.
Indeed. And what really stood out right away was sort of the choreography at the start. Get this. President Putin gets a full red carpet welcome on U.S. soil in Anchorage. Even presidential applause for him.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then he gets offered a ride in the Beast, the presidential limo, for a private chat with Trump.
Wow. Okay.
The official meeting. Nearly 3 hours. 2 top advisors each. But here's the critical bit, I think. Ukraine. The country whose fate is being discussed.
Yeah.
Not invited. Not at the table. Even while you had protests supporting Ukraine happening nearby.
Excluding Ukraine from a summit about its own war is significant. And pretty deliberate, you'd have to assume.
Something, right?
Oh, definitely. It signals a clear power dynamic. The big powers deciding they could discuss another country's future without them. That's a statement before anyone even says a word.
Right. And then when the talks wrapped up a bit earlier than expected, apparently we got those 2 totally different reads on the outcome.
Yeah.
Putin spoke first, and he used the word agreement. An agreement with President Trump.
He did.
Said he hoped this, quote, agreement would help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. And he specifically said he expected Kyiv and European capitals to see it constructively and, importantly, quote, won't throw a wrench in the works.
Okay, so setting expectations there for others.
Totally. And Putin also praised Trump publicly. He echoed Trump's own claim, the one he's made for ages, that the war wouldn't have happened if Trump had been president. Putin said, I can confirm that.
Wow. That's a bold first move. Declaring an agreement, praising Trump, linking it to Trump's past claims. It's Putin trying to frame the narrative right out of the gate.
Absolutely.
Control the perception internationally, make it sound like a done deal, even if, well, wasn't quite.
But then President Trump comes out, offers a totally different view.
Okay.
He says, nope, no agreement. But he insists there was progress.
Progress, not agreement. Subtle but important difference.
Right. He said there were many, many points that we agreed on, but he did admit a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there.
Acknowledging the sticking points.
And he summed it up with that very Trump line, there's no deal until there's a deal. Classic. Okay.
Trump also confirmed he'd call NATO leaders, various people, and President Zelensky, tell them about the meeting, but added it was, quote, ultimately up to them.
Interesting phrasing, ultimately up to them.
Yeah, and they both did the mutual praise thing, too. Trump said he always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, even throughout next time in Moscow.
So lots of positive personal language, despite the lack of a formal deal.
It really does sound like they attended 2 different meetings, doesn't it? One guy talks agreement, the other talks progress. It's a diplomatic dance, for sure.
It really is. Trump's caution progress, not agreement, maybe suggests managing expectations, keeping options open, maybe? But the mutual praise, even without that concrete deal, it highlights this sort of personal dynamic they seem to have. It adds a strange layer to the whole thing.
So after the summit, the White House confirms Trump had a long call with Zelensky from Air Force One.
Okay.
And then Trump also talks to Sean Hannity on Fox News, tells Zelensky to make a deal, advising Zelensky directly through the media.
Yeah, and emphasizing, Russia's a very big power, great soldiers, courage in fighting. Pretty stark terms.
That's quite the message to send to Kyiv after meeting Putin.
He mentioned being close to a deal, but then rated it 50-50, said he believed Putin would like to solve the problem, which should have never happened.
So still expressing some optimism, but hedging quite a bit.
Exactly. So, okay, connecting this to the bigger geopolitical picture, what does this meeting actually mean?
Well, the key insight, I think, is that Washington seemed to tilt, diplomatically speaking, towards Moscow.
Without getting anything obvious back from Putin?
Pretty much. That's how it looked.
Yeah.
And that immediately caused a lot of anxiety in Kiev, obviously, but also across Europe.
Right.
Sources we looked at highlighted that the one big thing Trump apparently wanted from Putin, a ceasefire, didn't happen. It wasn't achieved.
So no ceasefire.
No. But what's really interesting, kind of counterintuitive, is that for some Europeans,
Yeah.
that was almost a relief.
For relief. How so?
Because their worst case scenario was the U.S. and Russia secretly carving up Ukraine over the Ukrainians' heads.
Ah.
And that clearly hadn't been agreed to. They'd actually been working behind the scenes to make sure that wouldn't happen. So for them, maybe no deal was better than a bad deal cooked up without them or Kiev.
That makes sense. A grim kind of relief, maybe. So, given these outcomes, you've got to ask, what was Putin's strategy here? What was his playbook?
Well, it looks like classic Putin, really. Trying to prise open divisions, exploiting cracks he thinks will weaken the West.
How so?
Well, on one hand, he tried to sideline the Europeans, right? Suggesting they might throw a wrench into this supposed U.S.-Russia agreement.
Right, trying to drive a wedge between the U.S. and its allies.
Exactly. Create more distance there. That seems pretty clear.
Standard tactic for him, maybe. But risky, you'd think, given how closely allies watch this stuff.
It's always a risk, but one he seems willing to take repeatedly. And then on the other hand, he also seemed to be trying to exploit political divisions inside the U.S.
How did he do that?
That comment about the war not starting if Trump had been in office.
Yeah.
That plays directly into Trump's own claims, even connects, some argue, to the disputed claims about the 2020 election. It basically pours fuel on existing political fires within America.
Using the international stage to meddle in domestic politics.
Precisely.
Right.
It's an attempt to amplify those fault lines, a tactic we're seeing more and more, frankly.
So beyond trying to divide the West and divide the U.S. internally, were there other, maybe simpler, goals for Putin?
Oh, absolutely. Another key part of his strategy seems to be just playing for time. Simple as that.
Buying time. Why?
Well, look at the situation on the ground. Militarily, Russia likely feels it has the advantage. Plus, they have their own weapons production ramped up.
Okay.
Ukraine, meanwhile, is heavily reliant on American supplies. And the word is that Biden-era pipeline of weapons. It's running low.
So time favors Russia, in his view.
It gives Putin an advantage, lets him wait things out.
Yeah.
Some suggest that Trump's talk of deadlines has actually become a lifeline for Putin. Because every deadline that passes without a deal, without a breakthrough for Trump, just gives Putin more time to consolidate, to keep pressing his advantage on the battlefield.
Right. Okay, so let's flip it. Look at it from President Trump's angle. He always said he wanted to get Putin in a room, get a breakthrough, end the war. This summit was him playing his Trump card.
Playing the deal maker role.
But he didn't get that clear breakthrough, did he? No ceasefire, no concrete deal announced.
No, he did.
And there's this sense of absolute inevitability that he'll walk away if he feels the process isn't going anywhere.
Which is characteristic.
So the question becomes, if it does stall or if it's seen as failing, who does he blame?
Well, if you just look at the optics, the treatment of the leaders involved this year.
Yeah.
Remember how President Zelensky was treated earlier this year? That meeting in the Oval Office, described by some as an ambush and humiliation.
Right. That was quite awkward.
Contrast that with Putin in Anchorage, the red carpet welcome, the reintegration into the arms of the U.S., as some put it.
It's a stark contrast.
It really is. And those optics. They might tell you a lot about who's currently in favor and perhaps where blame might be directed if things don't work out the way Trump hopes.
That's a sobering thought. So, wrapping this up, what really stands out to you from this whole deep dive?
For me, it's a power of narrative. How two leaders can emerge from the same room and paint such different pictures, and how Putin strategically used that ambiguity.
Yeah, the conflicting narratives are key. We've definitely unpacked a complex situation here. Putin's efforts to exploit divisions, Trump's precarious position. It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How can a summit, even one without a clear deal, still shake up the geopolitical landscape so much?
Exactly.
Just by creating perceptions of progress, maybe. Or by sowing those seeds of division. Or just by buying more time.
All of the above, potentially.
It leaves us with a powerful final thought, I think. Sometimes the biggest outcomes aren't in the agreements written down. They're in the subtle shifts, the changing relationships, the power dynamics that you only see if you look closely.